Alright, muri yeZimbabwe kusangana kwatiri kuita zvakare ipo pano paZimu News update apo patinoda kupa mafirst hand update anonga ari kuitika munyika yedu yeZimbabwe. So panapa ndiri kuya ndakatibatanidzeye oro ndakati kaveye maupdates akati wandeye pasemu video boss tatira kuzivisai zvimwe zvezvinhu zvinonga zviri kuitika munyika yedu yeZimbabwe. So update yedu yekutanga muri yeZimbabwe ichange iri ya vanhu vari aligned na Vice President Kostotino Chiwenga military iri aligned na Vice President Kostotino Chiwenga kusanganisira na Sanyatwe ana Moyo ana Rugeja na chimwe vari kuramba kuenda kunoitwa maambassadors kunze kwenyika boss. Tiri kuona kuti vamunangagwa vari kuzama nepavanogona napo kuti vange vachironga dynasty yavo boss. Havasiriwo vari kuronga zvinhu izvi, vava kutobatsirana nakudata Grey nevamwe vanhu vakasiyana siyana. So panapa tinemwe nhau yetinayo pano muri yeZimbabwe kuri kunzi that family ya sort of like mukadzi uya waCollins Munangagwa second wife ya Collins Munangagwa yakasungwa family yacho yatorehwa mapassport muri yeZimbabwe boss. Vari kunzi vanga vakutoronga zvekuda kutiza kuti vange vachienda ku United Emirates sort of like Dubai muri yeZimbabwe ndokwakuronzi vaende, but tiriona kuti vari kunzi vatorehwa mapassport ndo zviri kuripotwa. Hatisazivi kuti nhau yacho ichange yakamira sei. Ndofunga tiri kuona ndo imwe family yacho iyi muri yeZimbabwe. Tiri kuona kuti that musikana yana 22 years anga ina sister yake na mai wake. Mai wake ndo wakarohwa muri yeZimbabwe zvakaipisisa. Handisi kuzoti kucrime watch zviriko here mapictures acho rigidzei tizame kumatsvaga anogona kusashayikwa kuno kucrime watch. Wakana cheko crime watch amenoti zvinenge zvakamira sei, but tiri kuona kuti hakuna kunoku, but ndichaenda kune mapictures acho muri yeZimbabwe monyasa kuzvionera kuti chichi kunyatsa kumboitika. So panapa tiri kuona tira kuti tiwerengetese panapa muri yeZimbabwe pari kunyorwa kunzi reports indicate that ZRP Zimbabwe Republic Police officers stopped Collins Munangagwa's mother-in-law Amina Arab and sister-in-law Dion Tanaka Tafirenyika from leaving Zimbabwe on a private jet to Dubai. Trikuona that we are mjeri muri yeZimbabwe. Ava mai wacho wakarohwa wangodotiza because wakarohwa wakaenda ku one commando wakarohwa wakazoenda ku state house wakarohwa, so wangada kutiza. So tikuona mapassport abva atorwa ende vanobva wasiwa ende wangada kushandisa that Joshua Ngomo International Airport. So tikuona pana pari kunyorwa kunzi the two were detained at Joshua Ngomo International Airport in Bulawayo shortly before boarding. They were reportedly found with drugs and are now linked on a money laundering investigation. Police and mupakaipa muri yeZimbabwe hatuna watachandira tukotsvagiridza because tiri kuona pane multi-millionaires mari dzakashayikwa mamillions nemachi munhu aidriva mabugatti nemachi anganzi anga nemadrugs 200 ndezvekugadzirira muri yeZimbabwe. So tiri kuona panapa Amina's Toyota Land Cruiser investigation believe Keisa Etafirenyika act at least 54 properties using millions alleged stolen from Collins. About 13 properties including houses and vehicles have reportedly been recovered. Tiri kuona zvizvaya zvakutohwa nechisimba muri yeZimbabwe, changowo chisimba chiri kutohwa apa, hazviende kuti zviri muzita rako kana kuti zviri chii, zvakungotohwa nechisimba. Kessler was granted bail by the High Court over drug possession charges. ZimLive reported that detective were waiting outside Chikurubi maximum security prison to re-arrest year after year. Apa pakaipa muri yeZimbabwe kutonzi yakatomira kunze. Ndofunga muri kuona vanga vatohaya private jet because zvokuenda nendege ma1 vanga vatoita zvekutohaya private jet yeche kuda kutotikisa, but tiri kuona kuti zvinhu zvacho hazvina kutombomira zvakanaka muri yeZimbabwe, zvinhu zviri kuboila chaizvo. So tira kuti tione vanhu kuti vanhu vane miono ipi mucomment section. So tiri kuona panapa pakanyonzi madofa anonetsa unotiza using air. Anyways mamwe nemazita akunyorwa. Who is Dion boyfriend? Who hired the private jet? Who organized? Pakaipa muri yeZimbabwe zvaifanira kutoita kapa waifanira kutoenda nekusango handimazvona sezvakaita vamunangagwa vachitiza vamugadzi kutomboenda nekusango nana Mozambique mozokwirira ndege unana Mozambique kana unana South Africa whatever maborder jumper handimazvona kana paine madhiri emari anozongotera chichi chimwe amatodini motonga haya private jet motodini motorwa palasi. clear munhu anotiza kana achiziva kuti ane mhosva. No one is above the law. Aiwa no, nyange usina mhosva but panoponyatsoona kuti mhosva idzika idzi ma1 cheche ndedzekucreatwa zvafanira kana zanu pia vichikucreatera inotoita sort of like yemhosva yechokwadi chichimwa. It's clear the Mnangagwa family taking from Mnangagwa himself a drug warlords. Turikuona hapana nyaya madzimai atsika yavo hapana nyaya madzimai itsika yavo kutora maluzi anenge asara muhomwe. Tirikuona panapa mhuri yeZimbabwe. So tirikuona panapa ko didn't they learn from their in-laws kuti kana uchitiza unobuda nemusango noti nepa airport. Imagine all that amount being stolen. How much do these guys actually have? Tirikuona panapa how much is to hire a private jet to Dubai. Pakaipa mhuri yeZimbabwe. Ndofunga muri kuona ndo zvimwe zvezvinhu zviri kuitika that mother in law na sisi wemukadzi waCollins sister in law vanga vakotiza vakuda kuti vaite kuDubai mhuri yeZimbabwe. Chinova chiricho chiratidzo chinoratidza kuti zvinhu hazvina kutombomira zvakanaka. So tira kuti tinge tichidzika tinzweni. Ndofunga muri kuona apa vanga vachiri kudanana naCollins Mnangagwa apa. Ndofunga muri kuona zvinhu hazvinotombomira zvakanaka chimwe. So regedzei ndofunga muri kuona aitombofamba nemamotakedi nemachichi chimwe. Tira kuti timbonzweka leaked katungwarara panapa nawo ekusaiswa musenate tione kuti zvakamira sei.
So nanchi kusenderai ma-messages paWhatsApp. Ndini journalist yayo. Ndandine ma-question angaida kungobvunza iwo.
Journalist upi?
WekuZim grounds.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there was this issue which was circulating on social media. I just want to know your comment or your opinion.
What was circulating? There's a lot of things circulating on social media, guys. There's this thing circulating on social media. What do you mean?
So there was this issue about Senator Kagadzwa Nezuro. What's your comment? Ndinoona kuti mimi maisapota Cape 3 ende maisapota zvese zvaiitwa nguva yapfuura yese. Saka vanhu vane macomments avo vanga vachiisa kuti president vanenge vakurasai. Hameno munozvionawo sei?
Andokurasana president avo. Ndokurasana president papi ndikuti akuita senator. Ini pandaishanda ndazi kushanda kuita senator kai. Ndaishanda basa sekushanda basa. Saka wapo kuti ndaraswa kundaishanda ndaendera kusenator ndeni.
It's fine. So ndo zvanga chingoona zviri kucirculate for the past 24 hours. Araida kuona kuti maimirawo nepapi.
Hatina kushandira kusenator kapataka ita Cape 3. Ndaishanda because taifana kushanda. Ndokuti kuti taishanda kuita masenator. Ende hasi munhu wese kaenda senator manyika yese upira kuti masenator. Ana president vaapoenda vanhu vanoapoenda vanhu. Vanhu vaapoenda masenator because so it fits to appoint vaapoindwa ivavo. Noti zvokuti munhu wese afana kuita senator aizvozvo.
Sezvo vanhu vanga vachiona kwese manga muchibudikira nguva yapfuura iyi. Vanga vachitarisirawo pamwe imi muchapiwawo chinzvimbo panguva ichapiwa vamwe.
Ini munondiboditizei.
Sevamwe vari kufambirana navo pabato vaipusha Cape 3 vachiwanika kumarali sezvamaingoitawo.
Aiwa hatina kushanda nemaagenda. Ndo problem iyoyo. Kuti vanhu munoshanda mune maagenda. Hatina agenda yataishandira. Taishandira basa rapresident. President vaende kumberi Cape 3 ibude. That's it. Zvesenator ndezvevamwe vaizvo vanga vakazvitarisira. So hatitarisire zvigaro kana zvishandira president. Simple.
Okay, aiwa maita
mhuri yeZimbabwe. Ndofunga tiri kunzwa ndivatungwarara vanova presidential advisor vanga vari kubvunzwa najournalist kutoti sei mimi musina kuwanawo chinzvimbo cheuseneta apo pataiona maita zvinhu zvakasiyana-siyana muchiita sei muchididididi mwaya vakapindurawo zvawapindura mhuri yezimbabwe. So tira kuti timbonzwe panapa tinzwe kuti zvakamira sei kumakomboredi edu pawanouya nechirongwa
and all that. Then from there you go to your literature review. From your literature review you go to your methodology. Under methodology, right, what is it a quantitative research, is it a qualitative, all those instruments, Ango, you know them. Then after that you go to chapter 5, you look at your findings and all that. This is a standard. Politics in Zimbabwe is not standardized like that. To say when you are producing a constitution, then it should follow this template, especially when you are dealing with a delinquent player. That's my next point. Right, Ango, you
can I ask you a question?
Yes, Ango.
Submitting. Why is it a requirement for a constitution to be submitted? To that?
Yes, it is.
And for what purpose?
Yes, it is a requirement.
For what purpose?
Right.
For what purpose?
I think for what purpose, Ango, to be honest with you, I will not be the best person to respond to that question. But I'm just going to respond to you based on what was communicated by Nelson Chamisa, right? Nelson Chamisa, when he registered the party, remember what he said?
Mm-hmm.
We went to ZEC, right? They thought we were coming as MDC, but we told them we are a new baby, right? Then they said, how are you a new baby, right? We know you as MDC. Why are you not coming to register as MDC? They asked from us, our office bearers, we gave them. They also asked for constitution, we gave them. I don't know if you still remember that. Then they made calls were made. We spent some 4 or 5 hours there. Remember, the launch was supposed to be done through the media, and they had to delay just for them to, for ZEC to get authorization, right? So Nelson Chamisa is a politician. I have spoken to him privately on calls. The expectation in Zimbabwe today is you have to submit a constitution, right, when you register your name to ZEC. And this is another reason that he gave. When you have a political party, that political party becomes a legal persona. As we see Triple C or as we see MDC Alliance trying to challenge the 2018 elections, right? For you to have that local standard, you need to be a political party, not Nelson Chamisa, right? So it's a political party now challenging Mnangagwa. The same happened to Triple C. And the only thing that can make you a legal persona is a governing document that you need to put in place, which is the document, according to President Nelson Chamisa, it was submitted to ZEC, it was submitted to the Parliament of Zimbabwe, it was also submitted to the Minister of Finance. So that constitution was there. The constitution is there even in the public as you look at the...
So can I ask you to the best of your knowledge?
Yeah.
Because the events that you're talking about, the events that happened by election at 2022.
Yes.
Do you have any knowledge? I'm just being inquisitive here. Do you have any knowledge that when Job Sikala went to ZEC to present whatever it is that they needed, to present, the constitution that he took is the one that I was, circulating, today.
Job Scala. Did you say Job Scala?
Yes, Job Sikala, yes. Job Sikala.
When he went to ZEC for what? For Triple C?
Yes, when he went to... on the launch of the Triple C. Remember, this delay, that you're talking about.
Yes.
You say, there was a delay. They were asking this, but we went with our governing, document.
Yeah.
Do you have any knowledge of the type of document that they had in their position as the CCC, constitution? Is it the same as the one that we were directed to today?
Ango, I don't want to lie, even though I'm not under oath. It's very difficult for me to respond to that question, because I did not see the document that was submitted by Job Scala, so I cannot compare the two documents. So maybe to respond to that question is I don't know if it is the same document, but what I know and what I can respond to authoritatively is the constitution was submitted. And it's not possible for you to register a political party without, especially if you are Nelson Chamisa. If your party belongs to Nelson Chamisa, then ZEC tends to be very strict. And that's why I was going to be, touching on my last point, which is a delinquent player, right? When you are Nelson Chamisa and you are approaching the institutions, there are rules that only apply to Nelson Chamisa. That would not apply to any other political organization in Zimbabwe, right? There are Nelson Chamisa rules, as we have seen them, supported even by Malaba in a constitutional court ruling, right? That numbers do not make sense. So they are so when you are dealing with a delinquent player, Ango, I think you have played chess, right? So when you are playing chess, we follow rules, right? You cannot castle, for instance. You cannot castle once your queen has moved. You cannot castle once your rook has moved, for instance. Or you cannot castle if your king is under attack or under a check, right? Those are the rules that are generally accepted. But in Zimbabwe, do we have rules that are generally accepted? Of course, we don't have. So for you to have a constitution, I know people will talk about a constitution. You cannot have a watertight constitution as long as you don't have a watertight system that's there to adjudicate, that's there to rule over constitutional matters. So that's where we are today. So as Zimbabweans, we cannot pick and choose fights and say, just because today it's fashionable to attack Nelson Chamisa, let's talk about constitutionalism and the constitution. How was your constitution? It did not address 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 issues. That constitution should have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sections. That's not the issue here, right? Then when we go to Zimbabwe, this constitution of Zimbabwe, right? It speaks that incumbent cannot benefit from an extension. For instance, the same thing that we saw with Malaba, the thing that we are seeing with the parliamentarians today, the thing that we are seeing with Idi Mnangagwa today, right? They are benefiting from a CAB amendment number 3 because they have captured the courts, because they've silenced, my voice is the opposition. They've killed people through the August 2018, so people cannot protest, right? We don't have courts to run to. So even if you were to have a constitution, a watertight constitution in Zimbabwe, as long as you have a delinquent player, as long as you have ZEC, as long as you have our courts, that constitution cannot save you, right? So we can talk about accountability, this and all that, right? Then the last point, if you are Nelson Chamisa, if you can have these seats, right, without a constitution, then that should be recorded in X as a miracle on its own. Same way it is, right? Say you are a president, a one-man band, you don't have organ. We saw the Chibayas, right, going around coordinating. We saw people from diaspora, right? People would not have direct contact to Nelson Chamisa, who were mobilizing, right? I know people would say, they organize themselves and all that, but there was a leader, right? They were speaking to different leaders. We saw for the first time in history, the opposition managed to field 210 candidates in the 210 constituents for MPs. We saw in our history that out of 1,935 councillor positions in our election, we saw an opposition that fielded almost 90% for the first time. And this Nelson Chamisa managed to do it single-handedly. Truly, he is a son of God after Jesus Christ. Thank you, Ango.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. I do appreciate. Yeah, interesting conversations here. Can I go on to Champion, please? Champion, do come through.
Ndeipi mkwasha?
Mwise mreje rete zvani?
Ndiri right. Unoziva mkwasha? If we start to talk about accountability, one thing that we have to do is to bring accountability as an umbrella that gives you 2 types of accountability. One is horizontal accountability. That is happening in citizens themselves. Then you have got another one which is called the vertical, which run through the chain of command. Now, the next question that you should ask yourself is, how does accountability becomes effective when horizontal accountability itself is not effective? That's number one. Number two,
How are you going to ensure that there is accountability, that is transparent, that is, let me say, that is also free? Because we all know that our state institutions are captured. So in any form of what you are trying to do, you can bring here Kariba disaster as an example of yourself. And say to yourself, okay, I've got a Kariba issue. Who should be accountable? That's your first question. The next question is, okay, if then there is someone who is going to be accountable, why alternative sources of transport are not there? Then you hear someone comes here and say, oh, you know what, we need to raise tax. You know, raising tax or not raising tax does not mean anything, as long as tax morale is concerned. Because remember, tax morale talks about the willingness of the individual taxpayer to pay tax. And I think it is difficult for any individual taxpayer to pay tax when his state of the economy is down, like what we find in Zimbabwe. I think the Zimbabwean one, I don't think it's unique. We all know right now from CZI, 76.4, 76.5% of the people are in informal sector. And I think 24, 23% is formal. Now come back and now say, okay, we want to raise tax so that maybe we can be able to invest money in public transport. And mind you, the moment you bring the issue of taxation, there is reciprocity that should be. If I entrust you with my taxes, you must provide public goods and services to the extent that we feel compelled or we feel motivated to pay that tax. And now you find the issue of tax morale becomes an important subject. And get out from there, from the tax whatsoever. Look at the, what is it called? The Addis Ababa agenda for financing for development. What does it tells you? It tells you about, let's enhance our domestic resource mobilization so that we can be able to foster development that is sovereign, that is not financed more